Alright guys, today we're going to be performing multiple transformations and talking about angle measurements and parallel versus perpendicular. Today's not going to really be anything new, we're just going to be doing multiple transformations to a figure. So each shape will be moved more than once. And just to review, when I reflect, I flip my shape. When I translate a shape, that just means I slide it or move it along my graph. And when I rotate it, that means I turn it. And as we know, all of these transformations will result in congruent figures, meaning our shapes are the exact same size and everything.
All right, guys, for our first example, what we're going to do is we're going to reflect this triangle over the x-axis, and then we're going to translate it 5 units to the right. So when I'm doing these transformations, I want to do one at a time. So the first thing we're going to do is reflect. The second thing we'll do is translate. So we will write down coordinates at the end of this. Right now, we just need to worry about the reflecting and the translating. So let's go ahead and start with our first triangle, which is ABC. I'm going to start with A, and if I'm reflecting over the x-axis, again, reflecting is just counting, and I see that A is 1 unit away from the x-axis. So to get A prime, I'm going to go one more than that. So I'm going to go 1 to the x-axis and then 1 beyond. And that becomes A prime. B is 5 units away. So I know to reflect it, I'm going to go 10 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that becomes B prime. Now, C is also 5 units away. So I know that I'm going to also count 10 units away from the original point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that becomes C prime. Now, this was our first transformation, but I still have to translate this 5 units to the right. So all I'm going to do is I'm now no longer worried about this triangle. I'm now worried about this triangle, A prime, B prime, and C prime, and translating it 5 units to the right. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take each point and I'm going to move it 5 units to the right. So we'll just start with A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That becomes A prime. Let's go up to B prime. I'm sorry, this becomes A double prime. Let's go up to B prime. 5 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that becomes B double prime. And then lastly, C prime. 5 units to the right. I'm just going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that becomes C double prime. Now that I have done my transformations, I'm just going to write the new coordinates for my last triangle, which is A prime, B prime, and C prime. So A prime, go to my x value, which is 1, and up to my y value, is at 1, 1. B double prime, my x value is 1, and up to my y value, which is 5. And then C prime, my x value is 4, my y value is 5. And that's it. There's our 2 transformations. I mean, there's other things I could do to this. I could rotate it. I could dilate it. We'll learn about that later on this week. There's a bunch of other things I could do with it. But for right now, we'll stick with 2 transformations. Let's move to our next example. All right, guys. Here's our second example. The first thing I'm going to do with this triangle is I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. The second thing I'm going to do with it is I'm going to translate it using our coordinate notation. So we'll do x negative 2, y plus 1, which of course means 2 to the left and 1 up. First thing I'm going to do though is rotate it. If I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees, I know that I'm going to turn my paper 2 turns to the left or the right. So let's do that first. 1, 2. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my axis. This now is my positive y, this is my negative y, negative x, positive x. And I'm just going to relabel my graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, we're rotating around the origin, so that's why we're relabeling everything. Then I'm going to finish relabeling. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I have negative 1, negative 2, because now I'm on the negative side of my x-axis, even though it used to be positive, -4, -5, -6, -7, so on and so forth. And this becomes -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, and -10. Now what I need to do is write down the coordinates of triangle ABC from my black numbers, from my relabeled graph. So I see that C, by my new X value, is at -1, and my Y value is at -2. Again, -1, -2 for my new graph. B is at, for my X value, my new X value of 3, and my Y value of -2. And then A, its X value for my new graph is also 3, and my Y value is -7. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my paper back to normal, and I'm going to plot my coordinates from the numbers that I wrote down earlier. So we said that C was supposed to be at -1, -2. Now I don't care about my numbers in black. I'm back to my graph. I'm back to my normal numbers. So I'm going to go to -1 and -2, and that becomes C prime. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plot B, which is at 3, -2. So I'm going to go to 3 for my X value and down to -2, and that becomes B prime. Now I'm going to go, finally I'm going to plot A, which is at 3, -7. So go to my X value of 3 and go down to 7, and that becomes A prime. Now, this is only the first transformation, and again, we see this triangle has been rotated 180 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise, depending. It doesn't matter for 180 degrees. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to translate this x minus 2, y plus 1. Let's do this in a different color. X plus 2 means I'm going 2 to the left, and y plus 1 means I'm going 1 up. So I'm going to take my new triangle of A prime, B prime, C prime. I'm going to move every unit 2 to the left and 1 up. So I'm going to take C prime. I'm going to go 2 to the left, 1, 2, and 1 up. And that's going to become A double prime. B is going to go 2 to the left and 1 up. And that's going to become B double prime. And then I'm going to take A double prime. I'm going to go 2 to the left and 1 up. And that becomes A double prime. Now, my last step here is to write my coordinates for my final triangle, which is in blue here. A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So A double prime is going to be at, my X value is -3. My Y value is at -1. B double prime is at my X value of 1 and my Y value of -1. And then finally, C double prime is at 1 for my X value and -6 for my Y value. And that's it. We rotated this triangle 180 degrees. We translated it 2 units to the left and 1 up. And that's our final product. All right, guys, let's go ahead and practice.